Have you ever wondered if wishes really do come true? Well, they do, and I, Jiminy Cricket, have seen it happen. Here, let me tell you about it. One starry night my travels took me to a tiny shop owned by Geppetto the woodcarver. I sneaked under the door and saw old Geppetto working on a puppet that looked like a little boy. Geppetto put on a last dab of paint and said, "There, little woodhead, you're all finished. Now I have just the name for you, Pinocchio. Come on, let's try you out." Geppetto took Pinocchio down off the workbench and danced the little puppet across the wooden floor by pulling on strings. Figaro the cat wasn't sure he liked the newcomer who clomped and clattered about the shop, but Geppetto liked his little Pinocchio very much. "Figaro, wouldn't it be nice if Pinocchio were a real live boy? Oh well, it's time for bed. Come, Pinocchio, let's put you back on the workbench. Good night, my little funny face." Just before going to sleep, Geppetto looked out his window into the starry night. "Oh, look, Figaro, the wishing star. Do you know what I wish, Figaro? I wish my little Pinocchio might become a real boy." And with that, Geppetto drifted happily off to sleep. "A very nice thought," I said as I settled down to bed in an empty matchbox. But wishes like that never come true. Moments later, the room filled with light, and there stood a beautiful blue fairy. She tapped Pinocchio with her magic wand. "Little puppet made of pine, wake, the gift of life is thine." Then Pinocchio moved. I can move. I can talk. But how? Because tonight Geppetto wished for a real boy. "But remember, Pinocchio," warned the blue fairy, "you're not a real boy yet. First you must prove yourself brave, truthful, and unselfish. You must learn to choose between right and wrong." "But how will I know?" "I'll help him, Miss Fairy," I said, jumping onto the workbench. "In that case, Mr. Cricket, I appoint you Pinocchio's conscience." And with that, she vanished. When Geppetto woke up and saw Pinocchio walking and talking, he was amazed. "It's my wish come true. Oh, Pinocchio, my boy, I'm so happy." "Me too, Father." And the two of them danced around the shop, laughing merrily. The next morning, Geppetto sent Pinocchio off to school, but there was trouble hiding along the way. A sly fox and a crafty cat convinced Pinocchio that the place for a puppet without strings was in the theater, and they steered Pinocchio away from school and off to Stromboli the puppet master. Stromboli put Pinocchio into his puppet show that very day. The audience poured in to see the little puppet who could sing and dance completely without strings. Yes, sir, Pinocchio was the big hit. I told him he ought to be in school, but he wouldn't listen. Besides, he was making so much money, I figured I must be wrong. Little did I know. In Stromboli's wagon after the show, the greedy puppet master took all of Pinocchio's money and locked him in a cage. "This will be your new home, my little wooden gold mine." Pinocchio shook the bars of his cage. "No, I don't want to be an actor. I want to go home. Let me out." But Stromboli only laughed and slammed the wooden door. I found poor Pinocchio crying in the dark. "I should have listened to you, Jimmy. Now I guess I'll never get home." Just then the blue fairy reappeared. Pinocchio tried to cover up his predicament by lying, but with each lie his wooden nose grew longer and longer. "You see, Pinocchio, a lie keeps growing until it's as plain as the nose on your face. I'll forgive you this once, but this is the last time I can help you." She waved her wand, and in a twinkling Pinocchio's nose was back to normal, and the cage door opened. As we headed for home, Pinocchio heard about a wonderful place called Pleasure Island, where boys are allowed to break windows, smoke cigars, and stay up late. It sounded fishy to me, but Pinocchio wanted to go. He climbed aboard the coach full of noisy, foolish boys. All I could do was tag along. At Pleasure Island, Pinocchio joined all the rowdy boys in wrecking furniture, throwing mud balls, and playing pool. I knew this place wasn't good, so I tried to talk Pinocchio into leaving. "Look at yourself. How do you ever expect to be a real boy?" "Aw, gee, Jiminy, a guy only lives once, you know." "All right, stay. Make a fool of yourself." And I left. As I headed for the boat dock, I noticed some sinister men herding frightened little donkeys into crates. The strange part was that the donkeys were wearing boys' clothing, and some were crying, "Mama, Mama!" Then it hit me. These were bad boys who had turned into donkeys. I had to get Pinocchio off Pleasure Island, and fast. I dashed back to the pool room, hollering, "Come on, Pinocchio, we've got to get out of here. The boys, they've all turned into donkeys." But I was too late. Pinocchio was already sprouting donkey's ears and a tail. "Oh, Jiminy, what do I do? Help me! We've got to get away from here before you get any worse." "Follow me, Pinocchio." We ran to the water's edge, dove into the sea, and swam for the mainland. Pinocchio pulled himself from the water, still wearing ears and a tail, but glad he had escaped. Pleasure Island. Let's go home, Jiminy. I want to see my father. When we arrived at Geppetto's workshop, the place was locked and Geppetto was gone. Just then a magic dove flew by and dropped a note. "Pinocchio, it's about your father. He says he went looking for you, and he was swallowed by a whale named Monstro." Poor Pinocchio thought his father was done for. But I read on. "Wait, he's alive! It says he's living inside the whale at the bottom of the sea." Pinocchio squared his shoulders. "Whale or no whale, I've got to find my father and rescue him." "But Pinocchio, it's dangerous. The monstro can swallow whole ships." "I've got to go to him, Jiminy. Goodbye." With that, Pinocchio ran to a high cliff over the ocean. He tied a rock to his tail and jumped into the water. The rock took Pinocchio to the ocean floor, where he began searching for Geppetto. "Father! Father!" Pinocchio's search wasn't long. Monstro was busy swallowing up tuna fish for a meal, and Pinocchio was swept into Monstro's belly along with the fish. Geppetto was surprised. "Pinocchio, my boy, I'm happy to see you." "Me too, Father. I've come to save you." "No, Pinocchio. There's no way out. Monstro only opens his mouth when he's eating. Then everything comes in. Nothing goes out." Suddenly Pinocchio had a tremendous idea. "Father, we'll build a big fire, and the smoke will make Monstro sneeze." Pinocchio and Geppetto started a blaze, then climbed onto a raft while the smoke curled up toward Monstro's nose. The giant whale sniffed and snorted, and finally sneezed, and the little raft sneezed the raft right out of his mouth. Pinocchio and Geppetto had escaped safely, but Monstro was angry at being tricked. He raced toward the tiny raft with a terrifying look in his eyes. Geppetto shouted, "Paddle, son! He's trying to crush us!" Monstro dove underwater and then came up fiercely underneath the raft. Pinocchio and Geppetto were thrown into the air as their raft broke into 1,000 pieces. Geppetto floundered hopelessly as he watched the furious whale turn about. "Look out, my boy! Here he comes again!" "Hurry, Father!" urged Pinocchio. But Geppetto was too tired to swim anymore. "I can't make it, son. Save yourself." "No, Father, I won't leave you." Pinocchio grabbed Geppetto's shirt and swam bravely for shore. Just as Monstro dove at them, Pinocchio pulled Geppetto to safety behind some rocks. Geppetto woke to find himself on shore out of danger, but poor Pinocchio was lying deathly still in the pounding surf. Geppetto tearfully carried Pinocchio back to his workshop and laid the motionless puppet on his bed. Suddenly we heard the blue fairy's voice. "Pinocchio, you have proved yourself brave, truthful, and unselfish. Awake." Pinocchio sat up to find himself changed into a real boy. Bursting with joy, he and Geppetto danced about the workshop. And so, you see, wishes really do come true. The end.